Everyone, really excited about this awesome learning experience that I'm putting together 5 days a week. We have some awesome speakers, 10 a.m. We are streaming live on StreamYard, through Twitter, Facebook, and my YouTube channel. Unlocking Unlimited Potential Stories, Summer Thrive Edition. Jesse Lubinsky, Georgina Dean, Darren Pepper, Charles Williams, and Tisha Richmond. An awesome group of people. We're going to talk about what you're doing for summer learning and opportunities that are out there for us all to be able to continue to grow and thrive this summer. Because as educators, as we hit this summer place, we have two choices. We either stop and dive or grow and thrive. Join us this week. Looking forward to it. All right, welcome everybody to the Unlocking Unlimited Potential Stories Summer Thrive Special Edition show. That's a mouthful, but there is a lot going on in this show. I'm really happy to be here. Today we have the one and only, the magical learning person that I think of whenever I hear of the word, the acronym, the magical learning, I always think of you. So here she is, Tisha Richmond. Tisha, how you doing?
I'm doing fantastic, Brandon. Thanks so much for having me on. Super fun
It's
this morning.
My pleasure. My pleasure completely. You're fresh off a trip to Hawaii, so I'm sure you're rested and rejuvenated and ready to rock and roll.
Absolutely. Yeah, it was a wonderful time. Wonderful time in Maui. Got to see dolphins, sea turtles, the water.
All right, now you're just making me jealous, but that's okay. No, awesome. That's so good. So excited to have you here. It's been an amazing week. We're having you cap off the week. It's been 5 days of awesome people jumping on and talking about some really great summer learning opportunities. Many of these summer learning opportunities are even free, and many of them are even opportunities that you can go into at your own pace. Monday, we had Jesse Lubinsky talking about the Changemaker Conference, which is really coming up next week. It's an amazing opportunity for you all to jump on. We talked about Georgina Dean, jumped on with about 5 different learning experiences, including Breakerspace, including Codebreaker Summer Camp, and including some other ones from Adobe and Google as well. And then we had Darren Pepper on Wednesday, who came on and talked about his coaching journey and how Unlocking Unlimited Potential on the Road to Awesome is going to be launching a coaching platform that's going to be happening around July 15th. And then yesterday we had some awesome opportunities talked about with Charles Williams inside the principal's office, and so many more that he had going on. And today we get to hear from Tisha, who is in Oregon, and it is such a great opportunity to have you here. So Tisha, first of all, can you just take a little bit of a moment and just introduce yourself? Tell us what you're doing and what you've been doing lately.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, again, super honored to be here. So thank you so much. I am going into this year, I'm going to be the new student engagement and professional development specialist in the Medford School District. 3 years prior, I've been our district's tech integration specialist. And I've been in education for 25 years, many of those years as a culinary arts teacher, family and consumer science. And it has just been such an amazing journey. I absolutely loved my time in the classroom. I was at a high school. I taught 9th through 12th graders, all sections of culinary, and then getting to move into this role where I've just been able to zoom out and see what learning looks like across a district. I support teachers K-12. We have 20 schools in the Medford School District. Just getting to be in classrooms, see what learning looks like in kinder and 4th grade and junior high and in different subject areas in high school. And then really looking at how I can support teachers in really creating incredible, magical experiences for students. And this past year has been wild. I have also been our district's Canvas LMS coordinator. So when we started this last school year, we not only implemented Synergy as a student information system, but we also brought on Canvas as a learning management system. So we had 2 huge platforms to learn, and in one of the wildest years ever, right? And so trying to roll out Canvas district-wide was quite an adventure, a messy adventure, but amazing all at the same time. And so to just support teachers in that, support teachers in learning new digital tools and new ways for students to share their voice and to have choice. And it's been awesome. And so I'm really excited as we move into a new year. Like, how can we gain traction, right? Like this, I think about the teachers in our district and teachers that I've talked to around the world, and they have taken so many risks. They have done so many new things. And I don't know that teachers realize yet how much courage they have developed by taking those risks. You know, everybody's just kind of right now probably just trying to regroup and recharge and reflect on this past year. But now, you know, I think when they start to think towards next year, and they're going to realize, wow, like I have done so many new things that I'm going to be able to now take and to expand on. So sorry, that's my dog. I think there's somebody outside.
No problem. That is 2021. It's okay. But so, you know, I want to rewind back for a second. So you said you started teaching culinary. Is that you were teaching? Talk a little bit about that for a second. So you started out teaching culinary, and then you were teaching obviously cooking and all that stuff. How did you go from one to the other? How'd you go from one place to this place of now you're leading and you're leading educators? And really cool story.
Oh my goodness. It's been an amazing journey. So I am so sorry. I might have to let this dog out in just a second. So
that's all right.
Back in 2014, I was really at a kind of a breaking burnout point. I was ready to leave education. I tell people often, you know, I was thinking, oh, I think I want to be a barista, maybe, you know, craft lattes. Like I was just really ready to be done, which I think a lot of people can relate to right now in this, you know, time of COVID. Everybody is so overwhelmed with just overwhelmed by all of the change and all of the things. I'm so sorry. I'm so distracted right now by this dog.
It's okay. Go ahead. It's okay. Do what you need to do. It's all right. I can fill blank space. All we need. No worries. I got it. So Tisha's going to come back to us in a minute as she removes the dog. That's all good. So just letting you all know, we have Tisha on. She's just talking right now really quickly about how she went from being a teacher educator, I guess. So the best way to explain it, I mean, what was your role? You were teaching a class called culinary. Like, how was that working in your school?
Yeah, absolutely. So we had a culinary program. So I taught 9th through 12th graders culinary arts. We had, you know, beginning, intermediate, advanced classes. We were connected to the community college, so students could take my class and get college credit. And it was amazing. And, you know, I absolutely loved that role. And it was in 2014 that as a region, all the culinary teachers decided to write a grant through Carl Perkins funding for iPads. And so at the time, you know, I was in this year of feeling burnout, ready to leave education. And, but these iPads were coming into my class. And so I embraced it just like I always do. It's like, if something like that's going to come into my classroom, I'm not going to have it just sit on a cart and gather dust. I want to know the very best ways possible for those iPads and technology to be used. And so I went to my first conference, iPad Palooza, that really talked about how you can use tech tools for incredible things. And so I went to that conference. My mind was just like completely blown. I'm like, wow, there's all of these things that you can do in education with technology that I never even dreamed was possible. And so that kind of sparked my joy. And I'm like, okay, here I am, this burnout teacher ready to leave education. But now I'm feeling rejuvenated because I can tap into these things and do some new things that I've never even thought about before. And so I came back, I got connected on Twitter that summer and started realizing there was this thing called the Professional Learning Network, and you can actually share stuff on Twitter. I had no idea. So I started doing that and meeting people and getting, you know, becoming parts of Twitter chats and conversations. And that led to another conference that I went to that year called Miami Device, and really started to establish relationships with other educators from around the world, and started realizing, wow, I don't have to live in a silo and only connect and learn from other culinary teachers. There's this whole world out there of educators across the spectrum that I can learn from. And it may not transfer exactly the same way to culinary arts, but I can definitely take these ideas and I can make them my own in my own classroom. And so I started, trying things and experimenting with digital tools and taking risks in my classroom. And I started kind of being a learner along with my students. And I found that spark just continued to grow. And all of a sudden, like, I was fired up for learning and teaching. And I was really changing the way that learning looked in my classroom. And I just became more and more passionate about it. I became more and more connected as an educator. And I kind of came to this point where, I was blog writing. I started to really reflect on my journey in that way. And I was helping for, I think, 3 years. Michael Matera and I hosted the Explore Like a Pirate chat together. And I started really getting to know people in that community. And it was probably about 3 or 4 years into that journey that I came to this point where I was never happier as an educator. I was absolutely loving teaching. I was absolutely loving my classroom, but I realized, you know what? Like, I think I have an opportunity here to amplify my impact. This position had never been in our district before. We'd never had a tech integration specialist. And I thought, if I can amplify my impact beyond my classroom and help support other teachers in creating these, unforgettable learning experiences with their students, like, I think I'm ready to take this leap. That just sounds so fun to me, because I just couldn't stop sharing all these amazing things that were happening. And so that's what I did. And it was so fun to jump into this, and challenging, right? Anytime you jump into a new role, and it was a new position in our district. But again, like I said before, I was able to zoom out and see what learning looked like across a district, just to even see what that leadership structure looks like, and really be able to support teachers in that way has been absolutely phenomenal. And I have learned a ton. I've learned a lot about being a leader. I've learned a lot about implementing huge systems like Canvas. And the learning just keeps going. And I just love how it's evolved over the time that I've moved into the district office. And again, my role will be continuing to evolve next year, as my title changes a little bit. And I love education. I love the connectedness that we can tap into as educators by being on Twitter, by being in Voxer conversations with educators from around the world, sharing ideas, using some of these platforms to really tap into what people are doing across the world. Like, there's never been a time like this where we truly can connect with anyone and learn. And it's been an absolutely amazing journey. And I'm just so grateful for it.
That's an amazing story. So going from teaching in a culinary arts program at your school to a technology integration specialist is not really the normal pathway, right? So that's it's really great that you were able to, find your passion in the journey. And I'm still sure that your ideas that you had from teaching in the culinary classroom, I'm sure you're still utilizing that in your technology integration, right? The whole hands-on, the whole, being engaged, that whole part of it. I mean, like, there really is no teaching experience that you're ever going to be involved in that can't be connected to something greater, that can't be connected to the deeper purpose of learning. And that's what I love about your journey.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it. I love really thinking back to what, happened in my classroom and thinking about how some of those things can transfer to other classrooms. My classroom is a very collaborative space because that's just the nature of culinary arts, right? You have kitchens, students are working together in groups, they're creating stuff, they're reflecting, like all of these amazing things that happened in culinary arts. I love finding ways that can happen in all classes and be able to create that very immersive, empowering learning environment. And I think that that's really what it was for me. It was that changing a classroom that was fairly engaging, right? Culinary arts, students chose to take it. It was an optional class, but that classroom environment changing from just being engaging to actually being immersive and empowering, where students truly owned their learning. That was the transformation that happened in my classroom that was just, game changing, literally game changing for me. And so to be able, again, to support teachers and help in creating that same kind of a learning environment, though it's going to look different in every class. Everybody has their own magic that they bring, their own way of teaching, but finding what that magic is and how to empower students, that's the exciting part.
And that's the title of your book, Making Learning Magical.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And magical is actually an acronym. So my book really dives.
I was blown away by this acronym, by the way, when I heard it the other day. I was like, oh, now I get it.
Yeah. So my book, it's my manifesto. It's really my story of how I went from this burnout teacher ready to leave education to a teacher that had really transformed her teaching and created unforgettable learning experiences through a lot of risk taking, a lot of mistakes, but it's my journey. And so magical stands for memorable beginnings, authenticity and agency, gamified experiences, innovation, creativity, collaboration, and curiosity, authentic audience, and legacy. And so when I really started to think about, okay, how did this happen? How did I go from this teacher that was burnout, where kids were maybe, learning, engaged, but how did it change from that to this empowering learning environment? And when I really sat down and thought about it, those were the 7 keys to unlocking that magic in my classroom. And so in my book, I talk about each one of those different letters of magical and how any teacher, doesn't matter, you don't have to teach culinary arts, any teacher, K through 12, and I think even instructional coaches and administrators can gain insight from the book too, and really think about how we can change the learning environment for students and really create that magic in classrooms.
And so you've talked a lot about kind of finding your own empowering moments to continue to push yourself forward through low moments of your career where you didn't feel like, you could keep going. You didn't feel like this was the thing for you. You kind of weren't really sure maybe what your why was or what your purpose was, or maybe there was something else out there. I think we've all either experienced that one or multiple times throughout any career, no matter what anybody's doing, throughout anything you're doing in life. We always question that, right? And so as we're going into the summer, and as we're looking into the summer right now, that's a place where we just came off of the craziest year an educator has ever experienced. I think we can all agree when I say that. And now some of us, it's just like a moment to just like sit back and do nothing. And for some of us, it's a moment, well, yeah, there are some things on my plate. Once I've sat back and done nothing for a little bit, I start to realize, hey, I can't really do this for so long. I need to keep going and keep growing. And so what are some things that you're up to this summer that you recommend others take part of? I know you already mentioned Twitter chats. I mean, what an easy learning experience for anybody to take a part of. And those have popped up with just about everybody on this show. So what are some suggestions that you have for our listeners?
Yeah, well, right now I have been just completely blown away by these Campfire conversations that have been happening on Voxer. So Sean Gaylord and Lainey Rowell have put together this conversation, and I'm really honored to be one of the camp counselors for this conversation. And on Voxer every week.
I love that you called yourself a camp counselor. I love this.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, it's so fun. And it's just kind of like everybody's gathering around this campfire in Voxer and all sharing their ideas. Like there was a prompt this week on, what is something that really worked this last year? And so people are just sharing all of these amazing things. And then, that shared idea launches into another idea. And I'm just so inspired by it. And I think one of the great things about professional development that is organic like that is that you just never know where it's going to take you, right? Everybody is just sharing their own authentic experiences and just feeding off of the energy. And the thing that I also love about it is that it can happen at your own pace, at your own time. So this week has been a little bit wild for me. We just got back from celebrating our anniversary in Maui, and I jumped back into kind of all of this craziness with going back to work and all these other irons that I have in the fire. And I get up in the morning. I love to run. That's my kind of self-care that I need just to keep sane. And so I go on a run and I turn on that Voxer. And of course, you're on East Coast time. I'm on Pacific time. So this conversation has been going on for 3+ hours already by the time I even wake up. And so I can just push play and just listen to this stream of energy and passion and conversation. And
how do you not stop running and join in? I mean, I would have to stop like every 3 minutes, be like, oh, I got to say something.
No. So the funny thing is, friends because I love Voxer for communicating with my friends across time zones because it just works. And my friends will tell you that oftentimes I get on there and I'm out of breath because I just have to say something. I'm sorry, I'm out of breath. I have to start out by saying I'm sorry that you probably won't be able to understand a word I'm saying because I'm running up a hill right now, but I just have to chime in. And so this morning I was listening and I had stopped running, but I was walking uphill, so I still was out of breath. I had to chime into the campfire conversation. And sometimes one of the downsides with running while I'm listening is that I want to write everything down. Like someone will say some amazing thing. And then I'll be like, oh, can I remember that? I've got to remember that when I get back home so I can write it down, or I'm going to have to re-listen later. But at the same time, it's just a wonderful way to learn while you're doing something for yourself, right? And so I love that. But I definitely would recommend if you want to jump into that conversation, I think it's bit.ly/campfire convos, and you can join into the amazing conversation. And again, super big shout out to Lainey Rowell and Sean Gaylord for getting that conversation started. So
yeah. That's awesome. And it's great that there's educators out there that are thinking outside the box and creating these experiences for people to come together. I truly appreciate that. And being able to learn about these experiences, because there's so many different things going on. But then that was kind of my goal with this, was to bring together 5 friends and to share what they're doing, because honestly, I don't know what every single one of you are all doing this summer, because there's so many different things that we're all doing out there and that are accessible and that we're able to do. And for those of you out there that have never used Voxer before, think of it as like a walkie-talkie app. That's the best way to explain it. It's super easy to download. It's free. You can jump on, create your username, then you can start reaching out to people, and people can add you to conversations. And the conversation, you can either participate by recording your voice, like a voice message, or you can type in the chat. That's the beauty of it. And so I know you're also involved in a book club that's happening right now. Shout out to the Breakfast Book Club people.
Yes, that has been so amazing too. And that actually is happening on Voxer for my group as well. And that has just been so heartwarming to have people dive in and reflect on their reading from Make Learning Magical. And this breakfast book club there's how many books? I think there's 6 or 7.
There's 6 books. Yes, there's 6 books. There is a lot of them. I should try to name them all. I might even have something in here. Let me see if I have. Let's see. We got Matt Joseph's Power of Connection. We have Darcy and Michelle, the Startup Teacher. We have Christine, Anxieties. And then we have Purpose Pushers. We have JT with his book, Equity on Purpose. We have your book, which is Making Learning Magical, and we have my book, Unlocking Unlimited Potential. I just did that all from memory, by the way. So I'm pretty proud of myself.
Oh my goodness, it's amazing. Yeah. And so we kicked it off. We actually kicked it off while I was in Hawaii. So I literally was on there at 3 a.m. to catch up with all of you on the East Coast. But we kicked it off. Everybody, chose their books that they wanted to dive into. Some people chose multiple books, which is awesome. Because how do you choose? There's so much awesomeness there. And then we are all engaging our groups in a weekly book chat. And then the authors of Startup Teacher, did I say the name right? I think I did.
Yep.
Darcy Backard and Michelle Blanchett are kind of leading everybody in this weekly session where you can kind of dive in and how to take these things that we're learning in books and be able to really put them into an action plan for the next school year. So super exciting. Again, I just have had so much fun with that. I also have a workshop that is in progress right now, Keys to Unlocking Magical Learning through Grassroots Workshops. That's been super fun to engage with the people that are in that workshop to really think about how they can unlock the magic in their classrooms as we move into a new school year. And I just would, like you mentioned before, the Twitter chats, there's just a really easy way to pop into conversations around the clock that are happening around educational topics, Facebook Lives that are happening all the time. I think that's one of the things that really took off during COVID was these Facebook Lives. You can find Facebook Lives happening around the clock as well. And you can just jump into those conversations live, or you can catch them later. So that is really awesome. I know that a Thursday night, Dave Bridges Consulting has one. They bring on a new person every Thursday at 4:30 Pacific time. But so many, right? So many different Facebook Lives are happening. And then I would just say, start your own Voxer chat with people that you are inspired by, right? We all have those people that just challenge and inspire us, and find those people and start a Voxer chat and just have organic conversations. And I think that it's great when you can connect in asynchronous ways like that, because so many of the people that I am inspired by and are really good friends with do not live on the Pacific Coast. They live in the Midwest or the East Coast. And so I can get up in the morning and realize that there's already started, a conversation has been started, and then I can chime in, either on my run or on my way to work. And that conversation can just happen at our own convenience. So think of those kind of ways that you can create your own learning.
There's so many ways. There are so many ways. And it's good if you're interested in following any of these people, just follow them. You see Tisha's, is that your Twitter tag there? Tish Rich. Is that also Instagram? Is everything Tish Rich?
Yeah. So Tish Rich on Twitter and on Voxer. So if you want to connect with me on Voxer, you can find me there. On Instagram, it's actually Make Learning Magical. Tish Rich was already taken. And you can find me at Tisha Norton Richmond on Facebook. I also have a Make Learning Magical page. And I also have a podcast that you can find on your favorite podcast platform called Make Learning Magical as well. And Brandon, you were a guest. You can find that episode there. And that's another great way to learn. So many amazing podcasts out there.
So many amazing. And I do have to shout out your website is also excellent. And there's also some great resources on your website that people can get on to. So many different resources on your website. That was what I always loved about looking at your website. I actually remember reaching out to you and being like, hey, your website's awesome. Where did you make this tool? Where did you make this tool? And that's the thing too. That's what it's all about, is just kind of connecting with others and reaching out to others, and not like putting anybody up on a pedestal, and just kind of realizing that, like, if you're willing to learn and there's something that you want from somebody else, reach out to them, see what happens. And I think 9 times out of 10, most people, no matter whether they have, 1 million followers or they have 100 followers, 9 times out of 10, I get a response back, and most people do too. So I think that's important to understand, is that educators also part of our journey in doing all this work is to make sure that we want you to know that the door is open. We can connect and learn further. And a lot of our websites and a lot of our platforms have great learning tools that are on there that are free as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I've learned so much from just, seeing something and then reaching out, in a message on a social platform and just saying, hey, how did you do this? Or replying to a tweet. And everybody has been so, so gracious. And I also want to share with you all that you all have your own magic too. And I think sometimes in education, we see all these amazing things that other people are sharing. And we're like, what we're doing is just kind of ordinary. Like, I don't know that anybody would gain any value from this, when yes, they would share it, because we all have our own magic to share. And some things that you think might be ordinary might be an absolute game changer to someone else. I don't know if you've seen that YouTube video from Derek Sivers, Sivers. I think it's called, I always botch this name, but I think it's called Ordinary to You, Amazing to Others. It's something like that. If you search that, I think you'll find it. And it's just an awesome little clip on how we might think what we do is ordinary, but it could be that thing that changes the game for other educators. So please share what you do, because we want to learn from you.
Awesome. And that brings us into our final 3 questions. So our 3, 2, 1. Some of it's going to recap some of the things you've already said, but let's start with this most important one. I think this is most important. So 3 recommendations that you have for self-care, because we all know self-care is super important after a long year we've had.
Yeah. So I think number 1 is find a way to just get by yourself and reflect. That for me is really important, whether that's by your favorite body of water, or, at a park, or maybe on a walk. That time for reflection is so valuable, just to get away from the noise and just, get all those things connecting in your brain. Also, I think to get your heart rate up in some way is really important. For me, exercise has been, oh gosh, it saved me this past year, because there's been a lot of stress involved in the past school year. And so just getting out, for me, it can be in the morning. I do CrossFit sometimes in the afternoon, just depends on the day. But just getting my heart rate going just helps me to decompress and just release some of that stress, for sure. And then for me also is connecting with the people that I care about and that I'm inspired by. So whether that's my husband, my kids, my friends, my professional learning network, that I can't maybe see face to face, but that I can connect with virtually, like just being with people that encourage you, support you, challenge you, I think is really, really important, because we can be bombarded by so much negativity all the time, and we need to be with people that fuel us.
Those are great ways to continue to fill your bucket. I appreciate that. So 2 examples now. You've mentioned a bunch of these, so just got to choose 2. So 2 examples of free learning opportunities you recommend.
Definitely the Campfire Convos. Jump in. Amazing, amazing conversation that is happening right now. And also this, I think this week it's already been shared, but this Changemaker conference is coming up next week. Is it next week? I think it's next week.
Yeah, next week. Jess, shout out to Jesse Lubinsky and the Changemaker crew.
Yeah, amazing. So super exciting. I'm registered and ready to go. I have some, I think, email is in my inbox I need to read coming up about that. So yeah, amazing. And then, that's 2. I need to stop
That's
there.
2. You want to throw in a bonus one? Throw in a bonus. I'm going to allow it.
Yeah, I'll throw in a bonus. Is I would say just get on Twitter, join in Twitter chats. There's around the clock. You can jump into conversations and meet amazing people.
All right. So here's the last one. The last one is most important. So 1 way to celebrate you.
Well, I just celebrated me by going to Maui with my husband, 25th wedding anniversary, which was amazing. And I'm going to be heading to San Antonio and Nashville in a couple weeks. 1, to speak at the Texas Family and Consumer Science Conference. I am super honored to be their keynote speaker and just get energized live conference with people that, are in the area that I was in for so many years teaching, and get to share just my passion and connect with people. So super excited about that. We're going to be connecting with family in Nashville right after. And then in Nashville after that, I am going to connect with some of my friends in my professional learning network for a weekend extension of my trip, which just happened to be at the same time. And at the beginning of my San Antonio trip, Tara Martin is coming to meet me, and we get to hang out in San Antonio together for a few days before I speak. So that is definitely how I am celebrating me this summer.
It's really great to connect with those people that you've been so close with from across the globe when we haven't seen them in so long, you know, and now all of a sudden doors are opening and conferences are happening, and now we're all starting to cross paths again. And I mean, that's an exciting opportunity. So that is definitely an opportunity to celebrate you. And so I love that. So one more thing, I want you to finish this sentence. So to keep thriving in the future, educators should
find your own magic. Everybody has magic and it looks different. The way my magic is different than your magic, but we all have it. And I think when you can tap into that and really find ways to empower the people that you serve, incredible things happen.
No, and I appreciate it. That's perfectly said. So thank you so much for joining me today. I appreciate you taking the time. I know you have a super busy schedule and you got a lot going on, but I'm really hoping that people are going to take a lot away from this. I know a lot of people that are going to be catching this on the replay are going to really walk away with some awesome learning tools and some opportunities that are happening that are connected to you and to so many other great individuals. So I appreciate you getting on the show. Thanks so much.
It's been an honor. So fun to chat with you, Brandon. Thank you so much.
As always, as always. So remember, the journey toward unlocking unlimited potential begins with you. Educators, you got a question to answer this summer. Which one are you going to be? Are you going to be the educator who stops and dive, or are you going to be the educator who grows and thrives? That is your choice. And I hope that you will choose to continue to grow and thrive with us all. Continue to educate with passion. Have an awesome day, everybody. Enjoy your summer learning.